and you're listening to Communities Live on Sheffield Live Radio 93.2 FM with me, Susie Casson and T-Boy, and we're joined in the studio by Josh Cheesman and Michael Dempsey from the company. Welcome both of you.
Hello, it's lovely to be here.
Yeah, great to see you again. And first of all, I was going to ask, how did Twelfth Night go? Were you involved in that, Michael?
Yes, I was.
Both of you were in the last production, Twelfth Night. How did it go?
Yes, that's right. It went really well. It was incredibly enjoyable to appear in as a cast member. I'm sure you'll agree, Michael.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, and it was, I think, very successful with the audiences. We got really positive feedback. We got some great reviews. So really happy with that.
Yes, it went really well. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and you're both involved in the next production by the company. Can you tell us a bit about it?
So it's the Ladykillers, and it's based on the old Ealing comedy with Alec Guinness, which was from the 1950s, if any of your listeners have seen that. And it's written by Graham Linehan as well.
Yes. Mm.
Yeah, so he wrote Father Ted and the IT Crowd, Black Books, so it's a very funny play.
Yeah, brilliant. So can you tell us where and when it's going to be on?
So the Ladykillers will be on at the University Drama Studio on Glossop Road. That'll be the 18th to the 21st of October at 7:30, and the tickets are £8. On what was it?
I think it's £9 for adults, £6 for concession students, anyone retired, and it's 50p cheaper if you book online in advance.
I always get that mixed up.
Yeah, no, well remembered. That was impressive. So it's the Ladykillers. Can you tell us a little bit about the plot, if someone hasn't seen the film?
Mm-hmm. So the plot centres on a gang of criminals who are planning a heist, and they choose to hide out and plan the heist from a room that they rent in a little old lady's house, and she's a really lovely lady, but the criminals, they've all got different personalities and different skill sets, and the play focuses on how these soon start to clash with each other, and all the comedy that arises from that as things don't go according to plan.
Sounds lovely. So quite an ensemble piece then.
Yeah, it's a small cast comparatively compared to other things we do. So there's 8 of us in total in it, and 6 of those characters are on stage pretty much all the time. But yeah, I think a lot of it is working well together, and the dynamics between the characters, which has been a lot of fun to explore.
Yeah. So it's kind of farcical comedy, isn't it? It takes a lot of rehearsing, a lot of timing involved, isn't it?
Very much so. Yeah, it's a really funny script, but yeah, there's a lot of physical comedy. So there'll be a lot of really precise choreography that needs to get done in order so that it's safe for us on stage, but so that it looks really good and that it's really funny. Yeah.
And sometimes the plot, literally hinges on somebody tripping over at the right time, or forgetting something to bring something with them. And if you get those things wrong, then the entire play falls apart.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us a bit about your characters?
So I play the character of One Round, who is an ex-boxer, and he is the muscle of the group. So for the benefit of your listeners, I will say I'm a huge, intimidating mountain of a man, and I sell that part very well. So One Round, like I say, he's the muscle of the group. He's the strongest, toughest member, but at the same time, he's got such a soft heart. He really takes to Mrs. Wilberforce, who's the old lady who's renting the rooms to them, and he develops quite a sort of a sweet spot for her, which, without giving too much of away, may become a problem down the line.
Yeah. And what do you play, Michael?
I'm playing the part of Harry, who's a pickpocket. And he's described as very young and cheerful looking, which I was flattered to have been offered that part, and I can totally pull that off. It's a really fun part. It's very energetic. He's always moving about and stuff, and it's really interesting especially how One Round and Harry, how their characters play off each other. That's quite an interesting development in the play. The great parts, really great parts.
Sounds very fun. And we mentioned the film, the old black and white Ealing comedy. Have you done much background research? Have you rewatched the film?
No, because my approach, and I think Josh agrees, is we tend to not like watching things that contain our characters, because for me, I like to base my character on the text, on what the writer has put, and through the process of rehearsal and through conversations with the director and how my character interacts with the others. That's how I develop the personality of the character. I prefer to do that, to come at it organically, rather than, because I don't want to be unintentionally like inspired.
Impersonating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another actor, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So, do you find working on a comedy like this is very different to, say, a Shakespeare play that you've just been in?
Yeah, I would say it is very different. I mean, with Shakespeare, there are no stage directions. It's all about the words and it's all about the lines. And particularly, I find myself learning that language is quite difficult, and understanding it. The first thing you need to do is actually understand what your character is saying so that you can accurately put that across. Whereas here, I feel like the lines are much easier to learn because it was written very recently. It's all in modern language. It's easy. You instantly get what the characters are saying. But the real difficulty is, as Michael said before, in the physicality, in moving around on stage, making sure you're in the right place and making sure it's both safe for us as actors, but also looks good to the audience.
Yeah, that's an interesting point about the language as well, because yes, it's modern language and the things we say are very normal, but because of what's happening on stage, the scenarios might be completely absurd. And so that's an interesting juxtaposition, and that's where a lot of the comedy comes from.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, the company seems to be doing really great work at the drama studio. If someone was thinking about joining, what would you say to them?
I would say absolutely go for it, because Michael has been here 8 years, is that right?
Yes,
You've been with the
7
company?
going on 8, yeah.
And I've been here just over a year and a half. This is my 5th play that I've starred in, and I've not regretted it at all. It's been so much fun acting. I enjoy the plays we do. I feel we maintain a very professional standard in our productions. But at the same time, it's just been a great community to become a part of, and I've made really brilliant friends. Michael, I number very highly among them.
Likewise.
It's just a fantastic community to be part of.
Yeah, you kind of get a special bond when you've been in a play together, don't you? That's not like anything else.
Yeah,
isn't it?
definitely. And it might not just be acting that people are drawn to, because there are so many different roles involved. You might want to do backstage or help with light and sound or costume. You know, there's so many different things that you can do. You don't have to be on stage all the time. And I don't think I'd be wrong in saying this. I've not really researched it, but I don't think there are many groups that would say we don't want any more to join. You know, there's always stuff that people can do.
Things like front of house,
Yeah.
welcoming people, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Jobs, Fantastic. So, what do you think people are going to enjoy about the Ladykillers?
I think the thing they're going to enjoy most is that it's incredibly funny. That's the simplest thing about it. We did when we did our first rehearsal was a read through of the script with everybody reading their parts, and we only got the scripts that day, and I have never been to a read through before where there has been so much laughter. Yeah. There were points where we just had to stop because everybody, the rest of the cast and the director and other members of the production crew were just all of us in stitches, and we just couldn't carry on reading for a moment because we were laughing so much. So it is incredibly funny, and I really hope we can do the script justice. Like I said, it's Graham Linehan who wrote Father Ted and The IT Crowd and Black Book. So if you've seen any of those programmes and you enjoyed those, I can tell you it's just as funny as any of those, and really worth seeing for the humour of it.
Yeah, I see the same thing, Michael. What do you think people are going to enjoy most about the Ladykillers?
Yeah, well, I agree with Josh. It's the comedy. It's just really funny. It's really clever dialogue, and there are a lot of visual gags as well. There's a lot of physical comedy. Like you were saying, it's farcical. We've got a scarf that someone wears that's a bit too long, so you get all the hilarity that people might associate with trip hazards. And Mrs. Wilberforce, the old lady, has a pet, which and there's a lot of comedy around that. And it's just a really great show, and we know it's going to be really, really good, and there'll be lots to look out for, lots of little jokes that someone might say something early on in the play, and then it'll get referenced later, and it's a callback to that, and it's just really, really funny.
Yeah, you should come and watch it multiple times, and then you can spot the jokes you missed the first time around.